Hi everyone, in this video we are going to look at the most important commands, most important and common commands in Git. So Git is a free open source distribution version control for tracking changes in any set of computer files. So if you come here, you'll be able to see the definition of Git. So Git is a free open source distributed version system that is designed to handle everything from small to very large projects with speed and efficiencies. So Git is in essence used to track changes in files in your repository. In most cases, Git is used by developers to be able to manage versions and to do collaborations with other developers. So Git is a standalone software. How to install Git on your computer? If you're using a Windows computer, you can come to the Git page and you can be able to download either 32-bit or a 62-bit based on your computer and install. You can follow the instructions, and also you can install Git on your Linux computer. So based on the distribution that you're using. So if you come to Git, you can be able to see how to install Git on your computer. If you come here, you want to do it on Linux, you will be able to see the instructions. If you want to do it on Windows, you will be able to see the instructions. Okay, so now we can look at the most important or common Git commands. So I have a Git shell opened here. So we'll use this Git shell to look at most important commands in Git, and I'll use these files to make changes and show you the difference on each and every command that I'm going to learn. So first command is to check how to check your Git configuration. How to check your Git configuration? You use git config flag L. So this will show all the Git configurations, details about your Git configuration. It should show your email, your username, etc. Then how to set up your Git username. So to set up Git username is git config global user.name. Then you put in the name that we put in the name that we want to be our username. How to set up your email is the same, git config. Then instead of user.name, here we put user.email. Then you put in the email address. Go. Okay, how to cache your logging details? If you want to save your logging details, your Git logging details or logging credential on Git, use git config -- global credential helper. Then you cache. Okay. So now if we do git config, you'll be able to see the email has been updated to the new one that we have set. So you can see our new email address and our new username. Okay. Then so I have this folder in my desktop that I've named as Git tutorial. So I'll use that folder. cd git. Okay, so in this folder I have one file that is new text document. So if I want to initialize this file to be part of my Git repository, so to initialize any repository, use git initialize all init. So I have initialized that folder out of my Git repository. Then if I want to add that file to my staging area on Git, I'll use git add, then the name of the file, So I can have like two files. If I create a new file, let me create a new file in that folder. If I create another file here called new, let me call it new git, and let me rename new git.txt. Okay, so in this case, let me rename this file. Let me rename git.txt. Okay, to add a file into the git repository, so it's git add, then the file name. This is if you want to add a specific file. If in this case I've just added one file in the staging area, so if I do git status to check my file, you'll be able to see that one file is added, but the other you can see there is a tracked file that is new git, but git is not tracked file because I've only added one file to my git repository. But if I want to add all files to my git repository, I'll do the command for adding all files is git add. In this case, you add all files to your git repository. Okay, then checking the status of the files that you've added to their git. If we do now git status, you can see that now the two files are added to the staging area of my git, because you can see now both files are being tracked. Okay, committing the changes on git. Once you make the changes, we use git commit. That's the command for committing git, committing files on git, or committing changes on git. So it's git dash m, then you can add the comment on the changes that we've added. So for example, then I put the comment, so I can put here my comment is commit on git. So I've committed the changes on git and I've added the comment. To see your commit history, you use git log. Okay, so you can see we only have one commit that we've just done a few minutes ago here. If for example, and you can see the ID of that commit. Okay, if for example, let's add another change. Let's add another change. Let me add this command for on my file. So if I come here and that command here, save, and then I come back to my git and commit it. So add the changes to my git, then I commit the changes, commit flag m, then I add maybe log, and then if I log now, you'll be able to see I have two commits. So there's a commit that I first did and the second one, and you can see the ID of each and every commit. If you want to see your commit history including the changes in git, so you can use git log flag p or dash p, so you can be able to see these are the commits that we've done, that I've done. So you can see this was the first commit and you can see the message. Okay, and what changed. For example, the first time I added git in int, then I added git commit, then the other change I made is adding git log. So in this case it shows you what you've made the changes on the file or what was committed. How to see, if you want to see a specific git commit, so you can use this command git show, then we can use the commit ID. So in this case our commit ID is here, so I'll copy that commit ID and paste it there. So you'll be able to see what was committed for that specific commit ID. Okay, then how to see log status of git, so we can use git log dash dash stats. Okay, This will be able, this command will show you some statistics about the changes on each commit, including lines and changes of the file. So you can see it here. So you can see those details here. How to see the changes made before commit. So to see the changes made before commit, we use git diff. So it's git diff. Okay, this git diff will show you the changes made before commit. How to remove a file from the current git tree if you want to remove a file. So for example, in this case we have two files. So we have git txt and new git txt. For example, if you want to remove new git txt, the command is git rm, then we want to remove new that. Okay, so we've removed that file from the git tree. And if you do now git status, just to check, you'll be able to see that the file was deleted. Okay, so we removed that file from the git tree. How to rename a file in git. For example, let me create another file. Let's create another file here. We call it git new.txt. So then let's add this file to git, then we can rename that file. Okay, so I'll come here, git add, and then git commit -m, and you can say new git file. Then if you do now git status, you'll be able to see this because we've committed the file, so the file is part of a git repository. So now if we want to rename that file, we'll use git mv. So we want git new, then let's call it git new one, git new, and we call it 1. So we've renamed the file, and if you come back, you can see now it's git file new. We've renamed the file from the git file git new to git new one. Okay, how to add how to create a git ignore file. Git ignore file is very important. You can use it to ignore, like when you're doing git add, you add all the files to your git repository. But in the git ignore file, what happens is of anything that you mention in git ignore file will not be added in your git repository. For example, that's the git ignore file. It has .git ignore, and now let's create a new file here. Let's say ignore .txt. Okay, and we come here on ignore file and we add it here. Ignore .txt. So this file will be ignored. Even if we do git add and we add all the files into git repository, this file will be ignored. So if you come here, we say git add git commit -m, and in this case we want to see the ignore file. Okay, if we do git status, you can see all the branches, everything is up to date. But that's but this file is not part of git repository. So if we do changes, let's add some text here. Let's add just anything on that file. This git ignored file. If we come back here to our git, we check git status, you can see everything is up to date, nothing has changed. As much as this file is inside this directory that we initialized as part of the Git repository, and it doesn't show the changes that we made. But if we come to this file and add something, let's just add added just any text, added git ignore. If we come back here and we do git status, you'll be able to see that the file was modified. So git ignore file is for the files that you don't want for them to be added to your Git repository. This happens if, for example, you have files that are specifically to your computer, and maybe when you are sharing your data with other developers, you want to upload it to maybe GitHub, GitLab, or BitBucket, and you don't want that file to be part of the remote repository, or you don't want that file to be part of your Git repository, you use a git ignore file. Then you add the name of the file in your git ignore file. Like in this case, we added git. You can add even a folder. It's not always that it has to be. So for example, if we create a new folder here, let's create a folder and we call it new. And if you go back here and we do git status, okay, so we've added a folder, and then that folder you can add it as part of ignore file. So we can add it here as new, and everything that is inside that folder. How to revert and send changes in Git. So how to revert? You can to revert changes, you come here, git checkout, then the file name, let's say it's git.txt. So one update path index. How to revert and state changes in Git? You'll use git reset head, then the specific file. In this case, it's git.txt. So and state changes has been reset. To roll back a commit, if you want to revert back to the old commit, you'll use git revert, then the ID of the commit. So let me first of all get the IDs. How to get the IDs for the commit? You'll use git log. So I have the IDs for the commit. So how to revert to a specific commit? We'll do git revert, then the specific command, the specific ID, paste. Okay, so it will open and it will show you what you revert. So I'll just close it, and the changes have been reverted. So it normally opens just for you to confirm the changes that that will be made once the file, once the committed changes are reverted. To create a new branch on Git, to create a new branch, use git branch, then the new branch name. So we can call it new branch. Okay. How to switch to the new branch? Use git checkout, the new branch name, okay. And you can see before we were in the master branch, now we are in the new branch. Okay, how to see the list of all the branches? You just use git branch. So we have two branches, master and the new branch, and this one will show your current branch, which branch you are in. How to create a new branch and switch to that branch? Use git checkout, flag B, then the branch name. So we call it new branch. Let's call it 2. So we've created a new branch and we've switched automatically to the new branch. So you can see we were in new branch, now we are in new branch 2. Okay. How to delete a branch? If you want to delete a branch, so for example, we want to delete the new branch, we'll say git, we'll use git branch -d, then new branch. Okay, we've deleted the new branch, and if we do now git branch, you'll be able to see we only have 2 branch. The new branch has been deleted. How to merge 2 branches? For example, if I want to merge branch 2 with the master, okay, so I'll first of all switch to master. Git checkout master. I want to merge new branch with master, so I'll do git merge new branch. New branch 2. To abort a merge that has a conflict, so you'll use git merge abort. Okay, that is to merge a branch where there is conflict. Then to add remote repository, so you'll use, there are several remote git repositories we have GitLab, GitHub, and BitBucket, and many others. So these are remote repository. They will help you to collaborate with other developers. So for example, you can upload your code or push your code to these to GitLab or GitHub or BitBucket, and then you can be able to collaborate with other users. Okay, so I'll just use, let me copy a remote URL, then we add it on our Git. So I'll come here, log into my Git account, and then so to add a remote repository, we'll use git remote add origin, then the URL. Then if you do now git remote v, you'll be able to see the remote repository. If you want to get more information about the repository, you can do git remote show origin. Okay, then if you want to push the changes to the remote repository, we'll use git push origin master. Go back to our git repository here. If I refresh, you'll be able to see the files have been uploaded to our git repository. If you want to pull if you want to download the files in your computer, so you can use git pull. Okay, this will automatically pull and save the files in your computer. So you can use git pull origin master. If you want to check a remote branch on git tracking, you can use git branch flag L. So it can show you on our remote repository we only have 1 branch. To fetch remote repository changes, we'll use git fetch. To check the current commit log for remote repository, we'll use git log origin master. It's git log. Okay, so it will show you the logs of our remote repository. To merge with the remote repository, we'll use git merge origin master. To get the content of remote branch in Git without automatically merging, so we can use git remote update. To push the code to a specific branch in our remote repository, we use the command is git push flag u origin, then the branch name. In this case, we can push to new branch. This is if you want to push your code to the specific remote branch. And now if you come back here and refresh, you can see right now it's just master, but now we have two branches, master and new branch. To remove a remote branch, git push delete origin, then the remote branch name, so we can use new branch too. Okay, and if we come back here to our repository and refresh, we only have the master branch, the other branch has been deleted. Okay, thank you for watching this tutorial. If you want me to make more tutorial about Git, comment. Thank you, bye bye.